Introduction. The term stereotype has generally a negative balance. Two fields have dominated the study of stereotypes. The first, Cultural and Media Studies, has examined the content of cultural stereotypes of certain groups and believed that society has disseminated and constructed these. And the second, Social Psychology, had looked at the individual psychic process involved in stereotyping.
Stereotypes. Sometimes we tend to have general visions or ideas about something or someone. It is part of our thoughts and ideas as human beings to identify other groups by what distinguishes them the most. However, it can be misleading when we begin to judge without previous information or knowledge. There is a normal way of thinking of us stereotypes. This does not involve any generalization about our image of a group, but a widely recognized image of social groups. When it is said that X group of people is stereotyped in a certain way, it is generally referred to the recognizable presence in a certain social cultural context of levels of a group and a set of characteristics. Surely you may know not all the different cultures and places of the world, but you might get an idea from watching movies or in social media. This influence is called bias, as the repetitive exposure to an idea can determine our way of thinking.
False ideas of culture and diversity. A stereotype is a kind of generalization linking a group to one or more general traits. Stereotypes can also be based on popular cultural depiction of groups of people or deeply held beliefs passed down through generations. Often stereotypes can be negative or even harmful. The most common stereotypes are cultural stereotypes, social stereotypes, racial stereotypes, gender stereotypes, or religious stereotypes. So it is false or at least misleading to say that Jews are cheap, blacks are lazy, Asian kids are mad, and women emotional. And now, what is a bias? In relation to the cultural bias is the tendency for people to make judgments and assumptions through a narrow view of their culture. Bias can be defined as a predisposition of preference for a particular person, group, or perspective. They are usually not based on fact or reason, but rather a combination of factors such as age, gender, race, culture, personal experience, and more. Because they are not fact-based, biases can often result in unfair treatment toward a person or a group of people. Both cultural bias and stereotypes can be considered false or untrue in some way. Using personal information or from a subjective point of view can change the way of thinking for a person, a small group, or even a large population. In many ways, cultural bias can have repercussions in the workplaces, judicial processes, education, and media. Because of this, the controversial results in cultural dominance. Cultural dominance is also called ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the idea that some particular groups are superior to others in terms of culture.
Okay, in my case, I'm going to explain the conclusion. Okay, in this part, we understanding the stereotypes, generalization, and ethnocentrism entails recognizing and analyzing how they influence our perception and judgment of different groups of people, and stereotypes are simply belief about a group. Generalizations are broad statements based on the characteristic of a few, and ethnocentrism is the inclinations to the view one's own culture as a superior. To grasp this concept is essential to educate oneself about diversity, engagement with individuals from various backgrounds, and questions our own assumptions. And in other case, I'm going to say some example of this. Stereotype is believing that all the people of a certain nationality are talents in music due to a cultural stereotype. This is ignore individual difference and the possibility that some people from the nationality might not be interesting and skilled at music. In case of generalization, stating that all teenagers are lazy because some of them show a lack as interest in responsibilities. This generalizes a strike on an entire group without considering individual concerns. And finally, ethnocentrism, considering that the way a holiday is celebrated in your own culture is the only and the best way, and that other form of celebration are inferior or wrong. This demonstrates a perspective centered in your own culture and undermine other valid form of a cultural expression.